Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. Nice to meet you all again. So this is our last session before the meet. So our meet is going to be held on next Thursday, 10th March, and we are supposed to start at what time?
2 p.m.
2 p.m. Yeah, we are supposed to start at 2 p.m. Probably we are going to start at 2:15, and the duration of the exam will be maximum 1.5 hours. So that's how we are planning at this moment. And the syllabus of the meet will be up to the previous session. And what was the last topic we have discussed? Can you remember what was the last topic we discussed?
So
The
preparing the
worksheet.
income statement and the balance sheet.
Yeah, preparation of the worksheet, showing all the activities we have done so far in a single sheet. That is known as a worksheet. So how can we prepare the worksheet? So up to preparation of the worksheet will be our mid syllabus. And in the mid, basically we'll emphasize on the problem solving, and there will be a few conceptual theoretical problem as well. Open response problem, basically you have to respond according to the queries, uh, and these theoretical questions will carry maximum 5 marks out of 25. So that's how probably the mid questions will be developed, and you'll get an instruction of the mid hopefully by today. An email will be sent to you all regarding the instruction of meet. And before we start this session, do you have any query regarding meet or any other
Sir,
issue? Yeah. Sir, what is the question pattern? What is the question pattern? What did I say? Anyone can help us?
Sir,
Yep, yep.
what are the chapters?
What are the chapters? Can anyone help us?
One
chapter
to
1
four.
to 4.
Chapter 1 to 4. Chapter 1 regarding the basic issues of accounting, transaction analysis. Chapter 2 that includes the recording process, journalization, lasers, and trial balance. Chapter 3 adjusting entries and adjusted trial balance. And chapter 4 up to the worksheet. This chapter 4 is basically whatever we have done in chapter 2 and 3. The combination of all the activities are shown together in chapter 4. Emphasize part of the chapter 4, that means worksheet,
Sir,
emphasize on that issue. Yes, sir.
in the mid, will we be told to create worksheets?
It can be asked. Yep, it can be asked. This topic is also included into the meet, so you should know how to
Sir,
prepare the worksheet.
week 6, lecture 1, which is closing entries, do we have that in our mid syllabus
No,
as
no,
well?
no, we haven't discussed the closing entries yet. We will discuss the closing entries and other topics in the next session after the meet. So these issues are not the issues I haven't covered in your lectures, are not a part of the meet.
Sir, in the exam, will the format be given or do we have to draw it ourselves?
You should know how to draw the formats, so be prepare yourself. You may need to draw the formats.
Okay, sir.
And in the question pattern, that will be some theoretical question, that will open response question, and mostly emphasizing the problem solving. Any other query? And after the session by tonight, you will get your marks regarding assignment 2 and quiz. uh, if you have any query regarding that, feel free to email me after getting these marks. Okay, so if you have no other query, we can concentrate on today's discussion. Basically, in today's discussion, we'll emphasize mostly on the previous two sessions discussion, that 2 or 3 sessions discussion that we try to understand or learn. And was there any homeworks for you? Had you asked to solve any problem for this session? No or yes? Hmm? No response from you yet.
Sorry, sir, I didn't hear, sir.
You didn't hear.
Continue.
Have you asked to solve any problem in the previous session for this session?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
I think.
Cool. Yeah. You think? Have you done it? Or any of you
Yes,
have
sir.
done it? Cool. At least because I emphasize on that problem because it is bit different. It was bit different from the previous discussions we have made, and I wanted you to think about it, and I'm going to discuss about these issues today so that your concept become clear. This is why I assigned that problem to you to solve or to try to solve. Okay, let's see what was the problem and how can we solve that problem and prepare the worksheet as well. So you are asked to solve a problem that is P36 from your book. It says that Gabriel's graphics company they have started on January 1, and at the end of first 6 months operation, and they have prepared a trial balance, and the information regarding the trial balance have been given here. So based on that information, as we know, we are handling the adjusting entries. We need the duration of accounting period. So what should be the duration of accounting period?
6 months, sir.
6 months. As it is already been given there, they mentioned that after 6 months they have prepared this uh, trial balance. So the duration of accounting period is 6 months, starting from starting from
So January.
January 1 to June 30, 2020. This is the duration of their accounting period. So they have prepared a trial balance for June 30, and we now can see the balances of each account they have created on June 30, and each of the accounts shows their respective balances as well. And this is the trial balance they have prepared. And after preparing the trial balance, they have given us a number of information that needs to be adjusted or needs to be considered before preparing the financial statement. So they have asked us to provide the adjusting entries for these six informations they have provided. So let us see how can we do the adjustments, or let us cross check the adjustments that you have done, and I already solved it. um, and let's cross check, and whether the queries arises, we'll discuss more details about that issues and queries. The first things they mentioned that the 1300 balance in supplies expense represents supplies purchased in January. So in the trial balance, probably there is a supplies account or supplies expense account. There is a supplies expense account in the trial balance, and this supplies expense, when they purchase the supplies of 3700, they have recorded it directly as supplies expense in their record book, and that's why when they prepared the trial balance, they found a balance of supplies expense of 3700. Now they mentioned that this supplies was purchased on January with an amount of 3700, But at June 30, 1300 of supplies are on hand. So we know this is the duration of accounting period for this organization, January 1 to June 30. So in June 30, that means at the last day of the accounting period, they found that 1300 of supplies on hand. What does this on hand means?
Unused.
Exactly. It is unused. And they have recorded in the trial balance as an expense and with an amount of 3700. Out of that 3700, not are all used, 1300 unused. So how much is used?
24.
2400. The difference between these two, they bought supplies of 3700, 1300 yet not been used, so 2400 used. If 2400 used, so how much should be recorded as an expense?
Sir, 2400.
2400. And what should be the account title or category of the unused portion? Is it an asset? This 1300
Yes,
unused,
sir.
it should be an asset. So basically, this is our workings. So when they purchase the supplies, they have recorded it as an expense into the trial balance with an amount of 3700, but actually they are not able to use all of them. They used 2400. That means expense should be 2400, not 3700. So in the trial balance, it has been recorded, or expense has been recorded by 3700, but now we have to make it 2400. How can we make it 2400?
Sir, by deducting
By
the
deducting
unused
that,
supply.
exactly, by deducting the 1300, we can make it 2400. And on the other hand, what happened with this 1300? It is not yet been used. That will be used later on. That's why it should be categorized as an asset. So what should be the title of this asset?
Sir, supplies.
Only supplies, exactly. Supplies. So supplies should be recorded by or increased by 1300, and supplies expense should be decreased by 1300. That should be our adjustment treatment. So if supplies expense reduced, what to do? Supplies expense
Sir,
reduced,
credit.
credit. And if supplies increase,
Sir, debit.
debit. That should be the adjusting entry. Supplies debit, supplies expense credit. Supplies debit, supplies expense credit. So this is how we'll do the adjustment for such problem.
Sir, I did not understand. Why should we write 1300? We need to write 1400, right, sir?
Why 1400?
Sorry, 2400.
Here,
Supply expense debit, supplies credit.
by.
Sir, I did not understand this.
So okay, you said that you want to write down 2400. Let's see what happened with this if you write down 2400. So in the trial balance, there is an account named supplies expense. If you looked at the uh, ledger account of this supplies expense, date, particular, reference, debit, credit, balance. This is how. So what they mention on June 30, they have a balance of suspense account. How much is it? Supplies account. What is the balance of supplies before the adjustment?
1300. Before the adjustment,
Yeah,
3700.
3700. Now they, what did they say? They have said that 1300 is unused. 1300 is unused. How much used then? 2400, as you have mentioned. So expense should be 2400. So what should be the ending balance of supplies expense after the adjustment? Or at what value we should record supplies expense when we are preparing the financial statement? Say the supplies expense is a part of income statement. Whenever you are going to record the supplies expense into the income statement, what should be the amount of expense?
So the remaining
How much? I want to know the
is
value.
1300
But they mentioned the 1300 is unused.
unused.
So what is the used portion?
So 2400.
2400. Can I say unused is an expense?
No, sir, it's
No,
an
it's an
asset.
asset. So expense should be recorded by 2400. So the balance of supplies should be 2400 at the end, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
So how can we make it 2400? If I reduce 1300, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
So how much we should record, or how much we should reduce the supplies expense?
So got it, sir.
Got it? Okay.
Yes.
This is why we have to concentrate on this ending balance, and to make it this balance, if you need to increase it, increase it. If you need to reduce it, reduce it. That is the objective. And the same concept will be applied for any types of adjustment. Sorry.
But before we work on the expense, I mean, we need to write the expenses, right, sir?
Yeah,
If you
because they already, if you looked at the trial balance, you can see that in the trial balance they have recorded as an expense. But if they recorded it as a supply, the treatment will be opposite.
got it, sir.
Yeah. This is the first one. Sorry. Second one. Notes payable was issued on February 1. It's a 6%, 6 months notes. So they have an account into the trial balance with an amount of 20,000 for the notes payable. Do you know what does the notes payable means? Can you remember? How did we explain notes payable?
So kind of liability payable, but we take it on a written note.
Yeah, it's a liability. We have taken maybe some amount as a loan, or we bought something on credit, and after that we have given a written assurance that we are going to pay this amount of money after certain period of time. That means that time will be also mentioned. According to this example, what is the duration of this notes? When or after how many months they are going to pay this loan amount?
6 months.
6 months, exactly. That's why they said that it's a 6 months note. That is maturity period of the notes is 6 months. Our duration starts in January. January, February, like uh, that, up to June. This is our duration. And when they have taken this loan?
Sir, February.
On February 1. February 1 they have taken this loan. So when they are going to pay it, pay the full amount
Sir,
of
on
loan?
July.
July, exactly. On July 31st they are supposed to pay the full loan amount. Now we are clear with that example explanation. One more thing they have mentioned in the explanation, they said that it's a 6% note. So what does this 6% means?
The interest.
Interest rate. That means they are supposed to pay 6% interest on this 20,000. Now, this 6% is for, what does this 6% means?
6% into 20,000.
Yeah, this is the amount of, this is the amount of, this 6% is what?
Sir, interest payable?
Interest. Yeah, they are supposed to pay interest for this loan amount. So this 6%, as you mentioned, this 20,000 multiplies 6% is 1200 is the amount of interest. Do you think that they are going to pay this amount of interest? This amount of interest is for how many months?
Sir, 1 month.
1 month.
One
6 months.
year, not 6 months. If you can remember, in the last session we mentioned that interest rate is actually being indicates that you have to pay interest for this amount for a year. Percentage is for annually. So this is basically for 12 months. And you are using this loan for 6 months, so you have to pay interest for 6 months. But at this moment, are we in the July 31st or June 31st? June 30. Where are we
June
now?
June 30.
In June 30. We are in June 30. That's why we are planning to prepare our financial statement. So you are going to pay this interest amount for 6 months is $600. When are you going to pay? At the end of July, isn't it? The payment will be 20,000 plus 600. Do you agree with me?
Sir, I'm confused about this part.
So you have taken a loan, for example, by issuing a notes payable. How much have you taken the loan? 20,000. The agreement was that in addition to this loan amount, you also need to pay an interest of 6%. Are you clear about it?
Yes, sir.
You also need to pay an interest of 6%. So, you took this loan on February 1. So you are going to repay this loan amount on after 6 months, that is on July 31, that is 20,000. Plus, because you are using this loan, you have to pay an interest 6% for this 6 month, that is $600. Are you okay with that? So at the end of July or at the end of 6 months, you have to pay $20,000 plus 600. Is it okay?
Sir, actually, I'm still confused.
Where are you confused? Or what makes
Sir,
you
about
confused?
the 600 part.
So are you using this loan? Have you taken any loan? According to this
Yes, sir.
example, how much they have taken loan?
20,000.
20,000. If you take any loan, what you need to pay that loan amount plus some return. That is the interest. That is the normal situation. Principal amount plus interest amount that needs to be paid. What was the amount of principal amount? Or that means how much loan have you taken?
Sir, 20,000.
20,000. So definitely you have to pay this 20,000 after 6 months. And for using this loan, the returns you need to pay, that is known as an interest, at what rate? At 6%. 6% annually. So annually, say for 6% is $1,200, but you have used it for 6 months. For 6 months, the interest amount will be $600. So in addition to this 20,000, you also need to pay a $600 as an interest. So after 6 months, that is on July 31, you have to pay 20,600 in total. Is it okay?
Yes, sir.
Cool. So this is the general scenario of this loan, how to handle this notes. But we are not in July 31st, so we don't have to worry about that situation. We have to concentrate on June 30 situation. On June 30, we are planning to prepare the financial statement. Now, we have used this loan. How long have you used this loan up to June?
5 months, sir.
5 months. Now, do you think that we also need to charge the expenses for these 5 months?
Yes, sir.
Definitely. What is the expense related to these notes?
Interest on loan.
Interest.
The
Yeah,
interest,
interest.
six
So, what is the
percent.
journal? What is the journal for charging interest? In the last two session, I have mentioned. What is the journal for charging interest?
Interest expense,
Expense.
debit, and loan.
Interest payable.
Sorry, interest payable. Sorry.
Hmm. Don't say notes payable. It will be incorrect if you say notes payable. So interest expense debit, interest payable credit. Journal for interest, charging interest is always same. Keep in mind. Journal for charging interest is always same. Interest expense debit, interest payable credit. So what should be the amount of interest on June 30? For
So
how many months?
500,
For how many months?
5 months.
5 months. 20,000 multiplies 6% multiplies 5 divided 12. So it should be the adjusting entry on June 30 to handle the interest on loan. Any query, any confusion?
What is 500?
500 is the amount of interest and interest payable.
500 a month.
500 for 5 months.
Oh, okay, sir.
500 for 5 months. Now question is why 5 months? Because we are in June 30 and up to June 30 we have used for 5 months. What if they mention that they have issued these notes on February 28th?
That moment we will count 4 months.
We will count 4 months exactly. So you have to be careful, not only with the months, with the dates as well. So the journal for this one: interest expense debit, interest payable credit. This is the
Sir, I
adjusting.
have a question
Yes, sir.
regarding number one journal, sir. Sir, if in the trial balance they write only supplies, that moment my journal will be supplies expense debit and supplies credit.
Exactly.
And if they write supplies expense, that moment my journal will be supplies debit, supplies expenses
Exactly.
credit, and I need to write the amount of
Appropriate balance that needs to be adjusted.
unused asset.
It depends on what was been recorded, how much been recorded, and what needs to be done.
Yes.
Okay.
Sir, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Sir, for the note payable, will we always write it as interest expense and interest payable?
For this journal entry is being made not for notes payable. This journal entry is made for the 6%.
Okay.
Okay.
Sir, what will happen? What will happen if it was for the notes payable?
At the end of the 6 month.
Yes, sir.
So notes payable was a liability. If you pay the liability amount, notes payable will be debit, cash will be credit.
Okay. Sir,
Yes.
notes payable was debit and cash
Cash will be
credit.
credit for the settlement of
Okay,
the
sir.
liability.
Okay,
Because
sir.
your liability will be reduced and you will be paid cash. That's why. Okay.
Sir,
Yes, sir.
Yes.
for the midterm, if they tell us to create adjusting entries and do not mention creating an adjusted balance, then do we have to show the ledgers as well?
So you just have to concentrate on the requirements. Whatever they have asked, they are going to ask you. You have to solve your problem accordingly. Do not do any unnecessary activities. Do not spend your time. Okay. Number 3. Balance of insurance expense is the premium on a 1 year policy dated April 1, 2020. So let's see how they have recorded the insurance into the trial balance. If you looked into the trial balance, you can see there is an insurance account named as insurance expense by 2700. So insurance expense 2700. And we have to consider the duration of accounting period again. So this insurance expense, forget the amount, 2700. They paid insurance, and when after paying the insurance, they have recorded it as an expense, insurance expense. So in the trial balance, there is an insurance expense balance with a balance of 2700. Now they mentioned the balance of insurance expense is the premium of 1 year policy. So it has been paid for 12 months. When this insurance was paid, when was the insurance paid?
Sir, April 1,
April 1. So we are in June 30 at this moment. On June 30, how long we have used this insurance?
3 months.
3 months. So basically, uh, are we able to consume the insurance for 12 months?
No, sir.
No. We actually consumed insurance for 3 months. So what is the amount for 3 months insurance that is consumed or used? What should be the amount?
So 675.
675. Okay, let's see. This 2700 is for 12 months. We need the information for 3 months. This is 675. Thank you. So out of 2700, 675 has been used. That should be the expense. Do you agree with me? That should be the amount of expense for this accounting period. Do you agree with me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So what about this remaining portion? Is it unused? Do you think that the remaining portion will be unused?
Yes, sir.
Yes. How much is it if we deduct the used portion from the total payment? This
Sir,
two
2025.
exactly 2025. It is unused. So if anything is unused, that will be the asset. So how should we title this unused asset?
Sir, insurance.
Yeah, isn't it?
Interest.
Yeah, exactly. Isn't it the amount that is being paid for the remaining 9 months?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we are in June 30. For the next 9 months, that amount will be adjusted. That's why it will be recorded as an prepaid insurance. So this is our calculation. Insurance expense, it is been recorded in the uh, in the trial balance with an amount of 2700. But now we found that insurance expense is not 24700 in June 30. We found that 675 is the actual insurance expense in June 30, and remaining 2025 will be the prepaid insurance in June 30. So in the trial balance, it is recorded by
Sir.
2700. Let me finish. In the trial balance, it is recorded by 2700. We need to make it 675. How can we make it? Do we need to increase or decrease the expense?
Sir, decrease.
Decrease. So how?
Decrease by 2025.
Exactly, decrease by 2025. So if we now reduce our insurance expense by 2025 from 2700, then it will be
Sir,
675.
it will be credit, right?
Exactly.
The
Yeah, we'll
insurance
apply the
expense.
rules. Yeah, exactly. We'll apply the debit credit rule. And on the other hand, prepaid insurance yet not been recorded. We now have to record this prepaid insurance by 2025. Now apply the debit credit rule. We know if expense reduce, it should be credit. And prepaid insurance is, you recognized it as an asset. It was not recorded. Now you have to record it. So it is increasing. So if asset increase, it should be debit. So the adjusting entry will be prepaid insurance debit, insurance expense credit. Prepaid insurance debit, insurance expense credit. That's how we have to make the adjustment for this problem. Yes, sir. Some of you have some queries.
Sir, why is the asset part named prepaid insurance?
So you paid insurance. Have you paid this insurance for the remaining 9 months? Is it been paid yet?
No, sir.
What does it mean? They mentioned that insurance expense premium is a 1 year policy. Why did they record 2700 as an insurance expense? Why it got? What do you think? If you looked at into the trial balance, you can see that they have record insurance expense 2700. What might be the reason? What was the transactions? What do you think? In the trial balance, they recorded insurance expense 2700. They definitely have recorded it from a transaction. What was the transaction?
Sir, I think the insurance has been paid.
Yeah, that's why they have recorded it. They paid this 2700 as an insurance for the next 12 months, for a year. When did they pay it? On April 1. That's why they have recorded it as an insurance expense. So it's already been paid for next 12 months. But on June 30, we have found that we on up to June 30, we actually consumed 3 months, or we used the benefits of insurance for 3 months, not for 12 months. So how many months remains? 9 months. So 9 months insurance already paid. That's 2025 is already included into the 2700. That's why we are considering that this amount of insurance expense has been paid for the next 9 months. It is considered as an prepaid insurance or advance insurance. Okay, sir?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So that's how we'll handle this insurance issue. Number 4, service revenue are credited to revenue. That means when you receive the revenue, you have already credited it as a service revenue. But at June 30, service revenue of 1300 unearned. Okay, let's see how much the service revenue has been recorded. So there is a service revenue account of 6000 into the trial balance. Service revenue with an amount of 6000 into the trial balance. Now, what did they mention? What did they mention? Oh, sorry.
Sir, that at June 30, service revenue of $1,300 are unearned.
Unearned. Okay. When we record service revenue, we indicate it's an earned, is it? But now they mention that 1300 is unearned. So how much is the earned? How much is the earned portion?
4,700.
4700. The difference between these two. 4700. So earned means what types of account?
Sorry,
Sir, correct.
Revenue.
sorry, revenue.
Revenue. And unearned means?
Sir,
Accounts receivable?
Uh-huh. Not that.
liability.
Liability.
Liability. Sorry, sir.
Yeah, no, it's fine. Liability. So basically, in the trial balance, revenue is recorded by 6000, but actual revenue should not be 6000. How much should be the actual revenue?
4700.
4700. So we have to make it 4700. On the other
Sir,
hand,
to adjust it to 4700, we should deduct 1300,
exactly,
right, sir?
exactly, sir, exactly. So we will, okay, we have to reduce 1300 to make it 4700. And what happened with the 1300? It is still unearned. That will be our liability. How should we title this unearned portion or this liability
Sir,
portion?
just unearned service revenue.
Exactly. Unearned service. So there should be an account with unearned service revenue with an amount of 1300, and service revenue that is already been recorded by 6,000, we have to make it 4,700. And as we already been mentioned, how can we make it 4,700 from 6,000? By reducing by 1,300. And on the other hand, we did not record the liability of 1,300, we now have to record it. So now revenue need to reduce, this is the adjustment. So if revenue reduce, it should be
Sir,
debit.
credit.
Debit. If revenue
Sir,
reduce,
oh, sorry, sir.
yeah.
Yes, sir,
Yeah,
debit.
debit. If revenue reduce, we should debit it. On the other hand, liability is increasing. If liability increase, we should credit it. So service revenue debit, unearned service revenue credit. That should be our adjusting entry. Is that okay? Next one. 5. Revenue for service performed but unrecorded at June 30, $2,000. It's a very easy one. You perform service but yet not been recorded. Have you recorded it yet?
No, sir.
Now record it. What should be the journal?
Accounts receivable, service revenue.
Yeah, accounts receivable and service revenue. General journal. We did not record it yet. Now we have to record it. Accounts receivable and service revenue. Last one. Depreciation 2250 per year. So depreciation is charged on fixed asset. Probably they have only one fixed asset. Now they are charging depreciation 2250 per year. So what is the journal for depreciation?
Depreciation expense debit and accumulated depreciation credit.
Exactly. Depreciation expense debit, accumulated depreciation credit. And 2250 was given for a year and our duration is 6 months. That's why half of that amount has been recorded as a depreciation expense. So depreciation expense debit, accumulated depreciation credit 1125, half of the 2025. 2225. Is it okay? Sir?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Depreciation is charged on fixed asset. Let's see what are the fixed asset. Fixed asset is equipment here. If they mention that this equipment was purchased on March 1, depreciation 2250 per year. But if they mention that depreciation is charged on equipment and equipment was purchased on March 1, are you supposed to charge depreciation for 6 months in that scenario?
No, sir.
How many months?
Sir, 4 months.
4 months. That's all. So we have to be careful on that. Okay. So we'll charge depreciation based on how long are we use that asset. If you use that asset for full accounting period, you will charge depreciation for full accounting period. If you use that asset for partial accounting period, charge the depreciation partially. Our objective, we are planning to determine the actual expense, actual revenue for that accounting period based on the consumption. If you use it for full year, charge it for full year. If you use it for 3 months, charge it as an expense for 3 months. If you use it for 1 month, charge it for 1 month. That is the rule to find out the actual amount for that accounting period. So this is how we'll do the adjustment. And in the last sessions, we have seen how can we transfer this information or prepare the adjusted trial balance through an statement. I tried to do it here as well. Say initially the trial balance information I transferred here, then all the adjustment information has been transferred here based on the previous discussions we have made. Say for example, supplies was debited, supplies expense was credited. In the initial trial balance, we already have a supplies expense account. It was credited here, but there was no supplies account. That's why I created a supplies account. and in the adjustment I have debited it with $1,300. Similarly, for the second one, interest expense, interest payable, none of these accounts were created into the original trial balance. Now I have to create both of them, interest expense and interest payable, and in the adjustment column I have debited interest expense by 500, credited interest payable by 500. In the third adjustment, prepaid insurance was debit, insurance expense was credit. In the original trial balance, there was an insurance expense account. That's why I have credited that insurance expense by 2250. There was no prepaid insurance account. This is why I have to create a prepaid insurance account with 2250. Then fourth one, service revenue and unearned service revenue. We already have a service revenue account. So service revenue was debited by 1300, and I have created an unearned service revenue account which has been credited by 1300 as well. In the fifth one, accounts receivable debit, service revenue credit. Both accounts are already being created into the original trial balance. So accounts receivable was debited by 2000, and service revenue has been credited by 2000 as well. Credited by 2000 as well. Then last one, depreciation expense and accumulated depreciation. None of them were created before, so that's why I have created depreciation expense debit, accumulated depreciation credit. And after transferring all of this information, then I have tried to find out the total of the debit column and the total of the credit column. Now let's see how much is the total of debit and total of credit for the adjustment column. Total of debit is 8250. Total of credit is 8250 as well. It indicates that the same amounts were debited and credited in the adjustment and in the posting to the adjustment columns. And after doing that, and I prepared the adjusted trial balance. We know that we have to consider the information from trial balance and adjustment to prepare the adjusted trial balance. And there was no adjustment with cash, so directly 8600 has been transferred. Accounts receivable 14,000 was debit balance in the trial balance, again debited by 2,000. So 16,000 debit into the adjusted trial balance. Equipment no adjustment, 45,000 into the adjusted trial balance. Insurance expense 2,700 was recorded in the trial balance. It was credited by 2025. Now in the adjusted trial balance, insurance expense is 675. Salaries and wages 30,000 is the debit balance. Supplies expense, it was 3,700 debit balance. It was credited by 1,300, so remaining 2,400. Advertising, rent, utilities, no adjustment has been done. Directly transfer that amount to the adjusted trial balance with the debit balances. Notes payable, accounts payable, capital, sales revenue. No adjustment has been done. Directly transfer to the adjusted trial balance with the credit with their credit balances. Service revenue 6,000 was credit balance. Then it was in the adjustment. It was debited by 1,300, credited by 2,000. So at the end, 6,700 credit balance has been transferred to the adjusted trial balance. And after that, these are the new accounts I have created into the during the adjustment. I have transferred all the information to the adjusted trial balance as well. And after preparing the adjusted trial balance, again I have made the total of the debit and credit column, found that both are same. 11 112,725 is the total for the debit and credit. Now, after preparing the adjusted trial balance, what is the next step to do, or why we prepared the adjusted trial balance? Why have we prepared the adjusted trial balance?
So we will use it to make the financial statement,
Exactly.
the income statement, and the balance sheet.
Exactly. The main objective of preparing adjusted trial balance is to prepare the financial statement. And here we are not preparing the formal financial statement. We'll do it after the mid. But we know how to prepare the income statement and balance sheet. We are trying to prepare a summary of the income statement and the balance sheet in that statement. So now we will prepare the income statement and balance sheet. So
Sir, I have a question.
yes, sir.
Sir, the income statement and balance sheet, are these the only two financial statements that we will need for our midterms?
Yeah. No,
Okay, sir.
for midterm, yeah, these two are needed only. For
Okay, sir.
yeah. So in the income statement, we know that in the adjusted trial balance, we have sorry, we have assets, liability, capital, revenue, expenses. These five types of accounts. What accounts or what types of accounts will be transferred to the income statement?
So expense and revenue.
Expense and revenues. And all remaining accounts will be transferred to the balance sheet. Say assets, liability, capital. If there is any drawings, then net profit or loss that we can calculate from the income statement, that will be transferred to the balance sheet as well. So this is the concepts we these are the issues we should keep in mind. So from the adjusted trial balance, whatever revenues and expenses need to be transferred here. I transfer these expenses, insurance, salaries, supplies, advertising, rent, utilities, into the income statement. Then found that two revenues are here, sales revenue and service revenue, transferred to the credit side of the income statement. There are two more expenses were created during the adjustment, depreciation and interest. These two are transferred to the income statement as well. Now we can see that there are two types of revenue, sales revenue and service revenue. There might be more as well, say rent revenue or etc. etc. But do you know the difference between sales revenue and service revenue? What's the difference between these two revenues?
So can I answer?
Yeah, please proceed.
One revenue is the type of revenue which you get when you sell a product,
Exactly.
and the other one is when you sell a service.
Excellent. So when you are selling any product or you're earning revenue by exchanging any product or tangible thing, that will be known as in sales revenue. And when you are earning revenues by providing services, intangible things, that will be recorded as a service revenue. Excellent, sir. Thank you so much. So we transferred all the revenues and expenses to the income statement and all other remaining accounts, assets, liabilities, and capital, drawings, etc., has been transferred to the balance sheet. Say these are the three assets: cash, accounts receivable, equipment, transferred to the balance sheet. Notes payable, accounts payable, owner's capital has been transferred to the balance sheet. Then this is the amount of supplies, it's an asset transferred to the balance sheet. Interest payable is a liability. Prepaid insurance is an asset. Unearned service revenue is a liability. Accumulated depreciation is a contra account. So this has been transferred to the balance sheet as well. We transferred all the information from adjusted trial balance to income statement and balance sheet. Done. Now we are interested to make the total of each columns again. And firstly, we concentrate on the income statement. And after identifying the total of the income statement's debit and credit column, we found that the total credit of the income statement is 58,800, but total debit is 39,800. Now, can you please help me to find out what does this 58,800 means in the income statement?
So my expenses are greater than
Now,
profit.
58,800 means what?
So it's the revenue.
Total
Revenue.
revenue.
Sorry, sir.
Yeah,
My
exactly.
revenue is greater
Total
than the
revenue
expense.
is 58,800. Total expense is 39,800. That means total credit column shows the total revenue, total debit shows the total expenses of the organization. And we know that we have to equalize the debit and credit column. That's why we need to find out the difference between these two, which is this
So
nine.
19,000.
Exactly, sir, 19,000. And after recording this 19,000 balance, now we now can see the both sides are same. Now question is, what does this 19,000 means?
Sir, that is the profit.
That is the profit. Why it's a profit?
Sir, because
So because revenues are greater than expenses.
Exactly, revenue is greater than the expenses. That's why it's a profit. I have written down as a profit. So that's how from the income statement we can find out the profit or loss for the organization. And where should I transfer this 19,000 profit?
The balance sheet.
Into the balance sheet. Debit side or credit side?
Credit side.
Credit side. Why you should transfer it to the credit side?
Because owner's equity should be added with the net profit.
Exactly. Because this is the claim of the owners. This is the claim of the owners. And this 19,000 will be claimed by the owner and it will increase the owner's equity. That's why this 19,000 should be transferred to the balance sheet. And after transferring to the balance sheet, if you now add the total of the debit and credit column, you again can see the debit and credit columns are same in the balance sheet as well. So this is how we have to make the worksheet, and that's how we can prepare the worksheet. If
Sir,
yes sir.
sir, in income statement we written 19,000 in the debit column,
Yes.
and in balance sheet we written in the 19,000 in credit column.
Yes.
Uh, anything, mane, I didn't get the I did get the explanation there that only security increased, that's why the credit.
Exactly. But
Oh,
why it is showing like that? If this is your
yeah,
query, is it?
yes, sir. Yeah,
Okay.
sir.
Now, I was supposed to discuss about this issue as well. Thank you for addressing it before. So, can you help me to find out this 19,000? We know there are different types of balances. This 19,000 is a balance, debit balance or credit balance? Is it a debit balance or credit balance?
So debit
So
balance.
it's debit,
Huh?
debit balance.
Is it debit balance? What does the
Sir,
balance mean?
credit.
We know there are different types of balance. Debit balance, credit balance. How can we find out the balance? Balance means the difference. So when it will be called as a debit balance? Anyone?
When it's negative.
Hmm? We are
So when the
comparing the
debit
debit.
balance is greater than the credit balance.
Exactly. When debit is higher than the total debit is higher than the total credit, then it will be called, the difference will be called debit balance. When total credit is higher than the total debit, then the difference will be called credit balance. In that situation, what does this situation explains?
So it's a credit balance.
It's a credit balance. Credit is higher than the debit, that's why it's a credit balance. We have recorded this 19,000 is equalized through the both side because credit is higher than the debit. Basically, it's a credit balance. That's why we transfer it to the credit side. Have you got your response to your query, sir? Is it understandable to you now?
So, being this a credit balance, we can do that. We write in the credit debit balance,
Sorry. Right in debit side or debit balance?
the debit side. Yeah,
Debit
well,
side,
can we
because
do that?
we have to do it to equalize the both side. But if you think from a ledger's perspective, then you don't have to equalize the both side. You just write down it's a credit balance. But in this situation, our objective is that to make it equal in both cases. And when it be equal? When you have this one.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Now, is there any chance that this difference can show a loss?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
In that
If
case,
expense
what
will be greater than revenue,
expense will be greater than the revenue? In that case, which balance will it show?
sir, debit balance.
Debit
Debit
balance.
balance. And if there is a debit balance, it will be recorded here and need to be transferred here. Is it?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
So when it's a loss, then it's debit, and when it's profit, it's credit.
Exactly. So from here, Let's see whether you agree with me or not. Now, if I say the credit balance of the income statement indicates net profit of the organization, and the debit balance of the income statement shows the net loss of the organization. Do you agree with me?
Yes, sir.
Exactly. So, in future, you may face such statement that the income statement is now currently showing a debit balance of this amount. It means
Net loss.
net loss. A lot of information will be given. You may have to assess those information, and it may not be given directly that net profit net loss is this amount. They may just say the income statement is now showing a debit balance of 50,000, or income statement is now showing a credit balance of 20,000. From that information, by using this concept, you need to find out whether it's a loss or profit for the organization, or profit situation of the organization. So you should be familiar with that concept as well. So that's about the worksheet, and this is how we'll go through. Is that okay?
Yes, sir. Sir, I had a question.
Please proceed.
Like, this is quite easy to do in the Excel. So how do we do it using like pen and paper?
Have you need to do some practice.
Oh, okay, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Now, uh, let's try to remind what are the steps we have completed so far. The accounting steps or activity started with, what is the first step?
Transaction analysis.
Hmm. Yeah, transaction analysis. What does it called?
Identifying transactions.
Identifying transaction. What is the next steps we did?
Recording the transactions.
Recording starts with
Ledger.
journal, then preparation of the ledgers, then
Trial balance.
trial balance, then
Adjusting entries.
adjusting entries, adjustments, then
Adjusted trial balance.
excellent, adjusted trial balance, then
Financial statements.
preparation of financial statement.
So what about the impact on accounting question?
This is a part of the identification of transaction.
Oh,
Okay, that's how or so far we have done, and in addition to that, we have also seen that. Sorry. Give me a minute, sir. In addition to these activities, we have also have done one more activities that we tried to show all the activities from trial balance to financial statement into a single sheet, that is known as worksheet. So far we have done these things from the accounting process. And there are a few more things that needs to be done. Then after preparing the financial statement, basically during preparation of the financial statements, one more things we should do, that is known as preparation of closing entry. And after preparing the closing entry, the last thing needs to be done, that is known as post closing trial balance. And this is the last step of accounting activity for an accounting period. And when next accounting period starts, that actually starts with the identification of transaction. And uh, one more things that also can be done at the beginning of the next accounting period and before identification of the transaction, that is actually known as reversing entry. So this reversing entries and worksheet are basically voluntary part of these activities, and all other activities, identification of transaction, journals, laser, trial balance adjustment, adjusted trial balance, preparation of financial statement, closing entries, post closing trial balance, all are a mandatory part of the accounting process. And all of this process is actually known as accounting cycle. So steps in accounting or accounting cycles include these steps that you definitely have to follow. These 9 steps are mandatory to be followed, and 2 steps are voluntary to be followed. And whenever we are handling accounting, we definitely have to follow these 9 steps: identification of transaction, journal, laser, trial balance adjustment, adjusted trial balance, preparation of financial statement, closing entry, and post closing entries. But these 2 steps, preparation of worksheet and the reversing entry, are not mandatory, but it's a voluntary part of the accounting cycle or accounting activities. So far we have completed up to the preparation of financial statements, including the worksheet. In the next session, we are going to complete the closing entry, post closing entry, and if needed,
Sir,
reversing entry as well. Yes,
sir,
sir.
in the bugs videos, for the weeks that are supposed to be in our syllabus, there are reversing entries. So do we just skip those parts
You
when
can
we're
skip it. As I
revising?
have mentioned at the very beginning of this session, your mid syllabus is up to the worksheet, preparation of worksheet.
Okay, sir.
Okay. So if any issues or topics is not been completed in our discussion session, that will not be included into the uh, midterm syllabus or as a part of the midterm.
Sir, how many questions will we have in exam?
Not sure, we haven't finalized the question yet, but as I have mentioned, there will be some theoretical question that will carry maximum 5 marks, and the remaining marks will be allocated for problem solving. There might be 2 or 3 problems that need to be solved, or 2 or 3 theories, short theories will be there, and the duration of the exam will be 1 hour 50 minutes maximum. But you'll get an instructions maybe by tonight regarding the mid exam.
Sir, can you give us any past paper for practice? Exam paper, past paper.
If you practice from your book, that will be enough. The whatever questions will become, you will find that it is almost similar to your book. You can see that practice numbers have been given to you if you follow the course outline. I think that's enough.
Okay, sir.
So is that okay?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Just one more thing. I can't remember whether I discussed it before or not, but you should know this one. If you looked at the trial balance or any of the trial balance, you can see that This cash, receivable, and equipment is basically an asset account. Which balance are they showing? Debit. All the expenses are showing debit balance. Liabilities are showing credit balance. Capital is owner's equity shows the credit balance. Revenue is showing a credit balance as well. So basically, these are the normal balance of this account. That means asset, expense, and drawings are expected to show a debit balance. Liability, capital, and revenue are expected to show a credit balance. That's why it is known as normal balance. So if anyone asks you, say, what should be the normal balance of a furniture account?
David,
Debit. What should be the normal balance of a sales revenue account?
credit.
Credit. So this is the normal balance. That means whenever you prepare a trial balance or when you prepare a ledger, if you find that a asset account, expense accounts, and or the drawings account is not showing the debit balance, it is now showing a credit balance. It indicates that you may have done any mistake in your recording process. Have you got me? Say for example, salary expense is showing a credit balance. Is it possible? Salary
Yes, sir.
No,
expense
sir, because salary expense should be debited.
should be debited. And according to that, when increase, it should be debited. So increasing movement is their normal balance for the respective account. So if any salary expense is now showing credit balance, it indicates that you may have done some mistakes in your recording process. So this is also important to know whenever we are preparing our trial balance. What are the accounts we have created? What balances are they actually showing? Should they show this balance? So it's a revenue account. If it shows a debit balance, should it show a debit balance in normal situation? No. It indicates that you now have to verify it to find out whether you have made any mistakes or not. So you should know what is the normal balance of each account as well. So normal balance of all assets, expense, and drawings is typically debit balance. Normal balance of liability, capital, revenue is typically credit balance. So whenever we create any asset, expense account, it generally should be shown a debit balance. Whenever you are creating a liability, revenue, or capital account, it's typically show a credit balance. But there might be some exception. That is a different issue. That's why it is called a normal balance. So these are the issues you also need to keep in mind when we create an account, what types of account it is, and what should be the balance or normal balance of these types of account. And for this, you should keep in mind these scenarios. When increase, what it should be. For liability, capital, revenue, normal balance is credit. That means it is supposed to show a credit balance. And asset, expense, and drawings is supposed to show a debit balance. So that's how we can handle different types of account. So that's about for me for this session. Any query, any issues from your side?
Sir, I have a question regarding sir midterm
Yes.
exams.
Yeah.
Sir, how many questions that we have to face and how many questions we have to answer in
We
the
haven't
midterm exam?
finalized yet. So still it's in process. So you should keep in mind that you will get 1.5 hour maximum, and the questions will be set up in that way so that you can answer it within that designated time.
Will there be any option to choose questions just like offline semesters?
Sorry.
Sir, is there be any option to choose questions just like there are the
There
that
might be
question?
an option for the theoretical part, but there will be no option for the practical solution or practice problem.
Theoreticals are just like short question types,
Short
sir,
questions,
or
yes.
definition types, sir.
Don't write any unnecessary things. Just concentrate on the main issues. That will be fine for the short questions.
Yes, sir. About the marks, probable marks distribution, sir. I want to know about that, sir. Marks distribution.
We have not finalized yet, but as I have mentioned, maximum 5 marks will be allocated for the theory and remaining for the problem solving.
So theories are just like the definition types, sir.
I don't know.
Which are
It will be a conceptual theory, not like that
concepts.
definition. Yeah.
So,
Okay.
sir, I had sir, another query, sir, regarding
Mm-hmm.
sir. You send us uh, attendance sheet, sir,
Mm-hmm.
in the last night 10 p.m., sir.
Mm-hmm.
Sir, in the previous session, sir, maybe session 10, sir, I did that class, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I joined from my personal mail account, sir, due to a device problem.
Uh, okay, send me an email. I'll check. Did you
Sir.
mean the Friday's one or the Wednesday one? 10th
Sorry,
or
sir.
11th? 10th or 11th? 10th probably. 11th was not recorded. Yeah, 10th.
Sir, I was present in both 10th and 11th, last two
Okay.
sessions, sir.
Okay, okay. Just give me an email. I'll sort it
Yes,
out.
sir.
Okay. Give
Thank
me
you,
an
sir.
email. I'll sort it out. No problem for that. And you will get your assignment 2 and quiz marks by tonight. If you have any query, feel free to email me. I'll respond to you. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Any other query? All right then. Thank you.
Sir,
Yes, sir.
if there are changes in the exam duration or the exam starting time, you will be notified about that,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. But when are you supposed to start the exam?
Sir, 2 p.m.
2 p.m. Basically, we will start at 2:15. Okay, and try to be there on time, and you'll find out your room maybe in the website announcement given will be given to you about your seat allocation, and please look at this and try to be there on time. Don't be late. Do you have any more query or any other query?
Sir, so the exam will start at 2 p.m.
2:15.
or 2:15?
2:15. 2:15. We'll start the exam at 2:15. Okay.
Okay, so thank you.
Thank you.
Uh,
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Good luck to you
Thank you,
all.
sir.
And
Thank you,
by this
sir.
time, if you have any query, feel free to email me. I'll try to respond you.
yes.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.